Any team, I think, in the Big East will give them a run for their money. It's the defending Big East champions, the Villanova Wildcats. Obviously, another big question, another big shoes to fill. We talked about it with the ACC preview at Duke. This is probably the second biggest shoes to fill in a college coaching vacancy. Jay Wright out after 21 seasons with Villanova. In steps Kyle Neptune, longtime assistant under Jay Wright, heads over to Fordham last year to take some head coaching duties. It sounded like he was getting a little bit of confidence himself, a little more experience on himself. Comes on back to take over the Wildcats. There's a really interesting stat that was on the CBS basketball podcast that talked about in like the last 100 years, there's only like 3 Villanova coaches. They love to get long-term coaches. So I'm sure they're doing exactly what they want to do with Neptune. They want to keep him around for a very long time. They feel like they probably groomed him based on being Wright's assistants for a long time. If anyone is going to shock Creighton, it's Villanova. I know that they are probably going to take a little bit of a step back because Neptune is building up his team again, but they still have a lot of good things to be excited for, Steve.
Oh, absolutely. And, Neptune, again, we follow the A-10. Fordham was a tough game for everybody in that even if it was only for a half. He's a good coach. He knows how to bring the best out in players. Brandon Slater is your typical Villanova star player in that he gets incrementally but noticeably better every year. And especially with his shooting accuracy, that's absolutely the case. And that is going to help Villanova withstand some of the deluges that might come from other more flashy offensive teams. He's going to be able to come back when things are looking a little bit tight, pull up, hit the three-pointer, hit the key jumper, calm everything back down. Okay, good. Okay. We just, it was an 8-0 run, 10-0 run. Okay, we're back in it. We're back in control now. He's that kind of player. Justin Moore, senior guard, again, he's going to be a calming influence. He's been there through the good times under Jay Wright and at Villanova. He can say, look, get in a huddle and say, guys, it's okay. Let's go back to what we know that we do. Let's not try to get into a run and gun game with these guys. Though they have the talent that they could get away with it against some teams. Let's play our game, play some tough defense, get our noses dirty, get our noses bloodied if we have to. That's Villanova basketball in a lot of ways. A lot of talent on this team. I don't think going from Wright to Neptune is going to be as big of a shock to the players in that locker room now. It'll be interesting as to see what happens recruiting down the road, but we're not talking about recruiting down the road now. We're talking about what's going to happen in the 22-23 season. And as you said, Villanova, they're not going to be, 5 games behind Creighton in the Big East standings. They're a good basketball team, but I think they're going to have to be satisfied with being the second best team in the Big East and then take their chances come NCAA tournament time.
The Justin Moore injury does concern me a little bit. Him tearing his Achilles in the Elite Eight. He's going to miss some chunk of the season at the beginning. When he comes back, obviously that's going to be great because he is the second best player on that team behind Slater. Look to see Mark Armstrong step into that guard role. He's a true freshman, so honestly decides to see what's going to happen there. But when you look at the schedule in November and December for Villanova, they do play Michigan State. They do play Iowa State. They do see teams like at the end of the year in December, they do start hitting in conference play. St. John's, UConn, Marquette, not the top dogs. We could say UConn's in that mix, but not the top dogs. So you hope that they can get the job done in the majority of those games. If he can come back by the beginning of the year, especially in February when they really start getting down the stretch and they do see Creighton, February 4th is the game against Creighton in Creighton. And it's going to be that's when they're really going to need Justin Moore. But initially that does concern me. They're going to have to find a way to win ball games without him. If they can, then they are going to be able to compete with Creighton down the stretch. If they can't, then I could easily see them stepping back. And unfortunately, maybe we would see them 5 or 6 games behind Creighton, because I don't see Creighton slowing down anytime soon.
No, and then apparently Justin Moore's already been told, I don't care how good you feel, I don't care how hard you rehab, you're not coming back before January 1st.
Right.
He's already been told that, and I think Moore's already kind of bought into that. And Achilles injury is so tricky that, like you said, maybe it is February before he comes back, or later in January. But if you look at their schedule and you can pencil in Moore playing even significant minutes, not necessarily, starting 5 minutes, but significant minutes in those early games, I think Villanova is going to be able to take a deep breath and say, okay, we're going to be okay. We're not where we need to be yet, but we're going to be okay. So Villanova, it'll be weird not seeing Jay Wright, on the sidelines. But as far as in games, I don't know how much would be missed by having Neptune leading this team. And I think, again, the incremental improvement that these teams always seem to show is what is going to make Villanova special again in 22-23.
Probably the biggest game that Justin Moore would miss would be at the end of December, and that is at UConn.